Hey, welcome to this episode of Get Therapy. I'm Michael. I share my knowledge of musical gear solutions which are cheaper and better, in my opinion. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you wouldn't miss my future updates. And today, I want to share you that why I never use and never even care about the distortion from the guitar amp. And I believe that I'm not alone. So last week, I just released my first audio effect plugin, AnyAmpIR IR, which is an extremely efficient plugin aiming for replacing all of your guitar and bass amps. It'll shape the tone of your guitar and bass just like a real amp. Free for both Mac and PC, $4.99 or $5 for iOS, link in description. And a lot of people really liked it, including me. They enjoy the simplicity and efficiency. If the tool is simple and efficient, then you got more time on improving your music. I also got a few amp theme suggestions, which I already took my note and will add them in the future. And I really appreciate the feedback. But there are also a few people seems hated it, saying that it is a pure scam by calling it a guitar amp, because there is no distortion in this plugin. And if there is no distortion, then it is not a guitar amp, in their opinion. Well, I'm an open-minded person and I like to do self-examination if I did something wrong, so that I can learn and grow from it. So I started to think why I still consider it as a fully functional guitar amp, although it doesn't have distortion function. So I opened up my dusty memory and start to dig my answer. It was 2009, the year I got into college and started my trio band Voodoo Child. And with no doubt, I'm the guitar player. And I remember my signal line back then is I send my guitar directly into an Ibanez overdrive pedal. I think the model is TS7. And then I send the signal into a wah-wah pedal, which is also from Ibanez. I think the model is WD7, as I can recall. They look pretty darn industry, which might not attract a lot of traditional guitar players. But I really like them because they sound pretty versatile and also shares the amazing feature design, which is the push knob design. And Ibanez call it tone lock. You can actually push all the knobs down to avoid accident knob tweaking while transporting. Really smart design if you look back. It's kind of like a hardware version of preset slot, although there is only one slot for preset. But I still appreciate their effort, because companies nowadays won't even bother to try. And that's all. Overdrive, wah-wah pedal, nothing more, not even a reverb. I just send the signal directly into my PV. Actually, it's a knockoff PV. I remember I bought that amp in second hand, and I always thought it was PV. Until one day I noticed that the amp logo is actually not PV. It's two Chinese words called 顶峰, which literally means peak. And they just designed that Chinese word into the shape of PV's logo. Shame on them. I can only find this photo, which doesn't show that fake logo really well, but that is the story. Anyway, the setup was really simple. And when it comes to how I utilize the distortion from that amp, I suddenly realized that I never used the distortion on that amp. It is not like it has a bad distortion sound, which a lot of amp suffers from. It is because it just won't work for our situation. The style of songs we played back then varies a lot, from pop to hard rock, and sometimes even a little bit metal, which feeds all the interest from three of us. Therefore, the guitar tone I need varies a lot, even during the same song. For example, if a song has a soft intro, then I would need a cleaner guitar tone, which I would put my overdrive or distortion off. But when I'm in the solo or some more aggressive part of that song, I would turn on the overdrive and distortion. And in this situation, I need to change my guitar tone as quick as possible. And also, I need to do it on beat. And I just couldn't achieve that with my guitar amp while I'm playing my guitar with both of my hands. So when we were doing our live show, my solution for changing my guitar tone would always be using those pedals on the floor, never the distortion on the guitar amp. And that was just me 14 years ago. If you ask this year version of me, I would also add delay and reverb after my overdrive and wah-wah pedal. And I would still choose to ignore the distortion from the guitar amp, because I just don't want to dirt up the reverb tail sound of my guitar. Although I know that using distortion on the reverb tail sound can be really interesting for sound design while music production. But I wouldn't choose to do that to my guitar for most of the time. Therefore, I choose to only use the guitar amp as a tone shaper for my guitar sound. You know, a complicated one, which can be easily replicated by impulse response, which is exactly what my new plugin would do to your guitar tone. AnyAmpIR IR, free for desktops, link in description. And then I thought, maybe it was just me, a mediocre guitar player who knows nothing about guitar tone. So I decided to expand the scope of my research. I asked my current band members. By the way, I play synthesizers with my iPad during live show, not guitar. I asked our guitar player, I asked our bass player, and I even asked our singer. Well, he also plays rhythm guitar in our band. And their answer actually shocked me. They all never use the distortion from their amp during live show. And our bass player even asked me, what distortion? The bass amps I used don't have distortion at all. If I need a dirty bass tone, like some of our heavy sounds, I just use the distortion pedal on the floor. I don't want that extra distortion at the end to dirt up my deep, low, clean tone. And the answer from our guitar player and singer are almost the same. They don't use distortion on their amps at all. They all see it as a tone shaper, just like me. Seems like they also don't know nothing about guitar tones at all. And for some mysterious, unknown coincidence, us four morons have been playing together in the same band for more than 10 years. It's so funny. What a coincidence to have four morons playing in the same band together for more than a decade. We are just so stupid that we never use the distortion from our guitar amps after, say, playing our guitar for almost 2 decades. It's just so funny. We're just so stupid. And then I thought, maybe it is just our band, which is a stupid band, who just never used the amp distortion. How about other bands? So I asked a few friends from different bands, and one of them even runs an online guitar pedal show here in China. And guess what? They are all morons, just like 4 of us. They all never used the distortion from their guitar amp during live show. They only rely on the distortion and overdrive pedal on their pedal board. Never the distortion on the guitar amp. Never. They know that it can be good to have that option there, but they just never use it. What a bunch of morons. I know some of you might say that, Michael, you guys just don't know nothing about guitar amps. There are already guitar amps support distortion on-off switch pedal and thing called effects loop insert function on certain amps. They can totally solve your problem. Yeah, I know that you can totally do that, but we don't own that specific amp. And also, we're just a small indie band. We don't tour with our guitar amps. We use whatever amp on that stage or bar. We can't rely on that. It is not practical. And even for songwriting and composing, we always choose to minimize the gears we would use for our guitar tone, so that they can easily get replicated for our live show. So we choose to use our guitar amps only as the final tone shaping, and leave other works for our pedal board, which is where the overdrive and distortion happens. And we have been touring with this setup to a lot of places. It's just practical. It suits every situation really well. So I really wonder, people who actually use the distortion on their guitar amps, how would they prepare for their 2-hour live show? Do they use the same distorted tone from amp all the way down? Wouldn't they sound really boring for their audience? And if not, how would they deal with the tone changing in the middle of the song? And what would they do if the actual amp of that stage or bar doesn't have that good feature I just mentioned? What would they do? If you got the answer, please tell me in the comments. I'll also let other morons know. Guitar nerds help guitar nerds. And if you're not a moron like us, please don't use my free AnyAmpIR IR to replace any guitar or bass amp, although it can shape your guitar and bass tone just like what a real amp and cab do. But it doesn't have distortion, which we morons never use. You know what? I assume those amp companies knows exactly there are morons like us exists. So they also developed these products, which is amp distortion pedals. Ever wonder how they would sound? Well, stay for the next episode. And the spoiler alert, they sound really bad. Okay, that's it for this video. Leave a comment if you have any question. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, check out my new plugin, AnyAmpIR IR, free for Mac and PC, $4.99 or $5 for iOS, link in description. And also, please consider to support me while purchasing this free plugin. Any tip would help me and my channel a lot. I'm Michael. This is Gas Therapy, sharing you my knowledge of musical gear solutions which are cheaper and better, in my opinion, in multiple formats. See you in the next one. Peace. So basically 5 morons, and in this case, I'm including our drummer. Obviously, he must be a moron. We have been playing in the same band for more than a decade. What a coincidence.